If you spend some time on Freezerburns, then you might stave off the stomach churns. Greg's the frozen food master, he's best bud to your taste buds.
Hello, welcome to Storytime with the Frozen Food Master. By now you know that last month I was in Italy with the Michelangelo's family. It was a great trip. Not only to see the beautiful countryside of Italy, to eat amazing food, but I had unprecedented access with the Michelangelo's family, the decision makers and the founders and the people who created the recipes of all those awesome meals from Michelangelo's. Now, one of the days we went to this cheese factory, Formaggi della Famiglia Busti, which means cheese of the Busti family. Really cool. And I'm going to tell you a story today about the day we went to the cheese factory. Now, we drove for like what seemed like, I don't know, a long time, like an hour through these like windy roads. And we finally get to this factory, and it's kind of like one of those, you know that movie Strange Brew, where you see the brewery up there and there's just like these massive metal, like, I don't know the language, so you're gonna, I'm gonna put it in layman's terms. One of those like, those massive like factory-like things. Well, anyways, we're there, we ring the doorbell, we're invited in, and first thing they do is they're like, would you like some espresso? And of course I was like, yes, I would like some espresso. Of course I want some espresso. So we're there in this cheese factory. Everything is branded this, Formaggi della Famiglia Busti. Della, like de la soul, of the soul. Black medallions, no gold. You know that song, right, buddy? I'm like, okay, cheese factory. Now, let me get the elephant out of the room, or let me address the elephant in the room. I am lactose intolerant. I know you know this, I know this. I took tons and tons of medicine that day, like quadruple the amount, because I knew I was gonna be mowing on some cheese. So we go to this cheese factory. First thing they do is, after the espresso, which was amazing by the way, they tell us we need to take all of our jewelry off, our hats, all that stuff, and we had to put on these, this basically like clean outfit. Basically what it is like booties on your feet. It was like I was scrubbing in, right? Like a plastic trash bag and a hairnet over my head. Now, as you can see, I love any excuse for wearing an outfit, and it was pretty cool to put that on. Now, you ever see like those people who are running in the park and they're running basically, or sometimes literally in a trash bag? They do that because it's not breathable at all. It's not breathable. And so you are sweating like a pig, and this was no different. It was warm in there, but it was pretty cool, and it was also a testament for how clean this place is. We go in and they take us through the entire process of this cheese making. So the first thing they do is they show us how everything is like super high tech. So they show us this computer, and they show like how if they're making a certain type of cheese, and then a certain type of milk or cream or other ingredients come in through this line, and how they clean all the lines all the time. I mean, it was spotless. You could literally eat off the floor. It was pretty impressive. Then after they went through all the technical stuff, which I couldn't quite hear it all. Like it was pretty loud in there, and it was like cramped quarters. But after they did that, they took us into this main room, and in this main room, you open the door and boom, cheese smell. Like not like a fully cheesified cheese smell, but it's definitely cheese. And then they show these big like big spinny things that are basically like mixing the solution that becomes cheese. Again, I don't know any of these technical terms, but in the beginning it's like super liquidy. Then it gets like soupy. Then it gets like pudding, and then it gets like real like super tough to like churning butter type deal. And in this stage of the cheese making process, when they add in some of the flavors, we were fortunate, or maybe unfortunate, depending on which way you look at it, that they were mixing in truffles this day. And some of the people that we were on the trip with basically said, you either love truffles or you hate truffles. I love the taste. I don't know, maybe I'm kind of in between. I love the taste, but I don't like the smell. Anyway, they had these truffles that they were mixing in, and then they had all these workers down below, and they would hose down these bins. All of this like mixture would come through. It was actually pretty disgusting looking, coming out this big hose, and they would put them into these plastic canisters and fill them up. So by this time it's like liquidy, but it's kind of like bumpy and like had all sorts of chunks in it and stuff like that. And it was filling up in these canisters. And I'm like, okay. And they said, these are what is going to end up the cheese wheels. And I'm like, okay, cheese wheels. It's like this thick. Cheese wheels are normally like this thick. How is this happening? So they fill up all of these canisters, and then they top it off, and then they put them on these like wooden planks, and then another guy pushes it into another room. So then they take us into this other room, and in this other room there's probably like 50 of these carts, all filled with these things, right? And as they're filled with them, the things that are closer to the door, I'm looking out and I'm saying, why these are like dropped down? So basically what happened is, as they're in this other room, all the cheese is starting to settle. So even though it starts like this high, by the end it goes to like here. Now what I was pretty impressed with is, even though this was like super high-tech machinery, there was a lot of like actual hand movement going on, like filling up these canisters, and then in this room there was literally a guy that would go through each one of these canisters. You know, by this time like a couple hours had gone past, and it has dropped down to like this level, and they literally took it out of the canister, flipped them by hand, and then put them back in the canister. Then from there they take it and they move into a different area where the cheeses are aged based on different temperatures, different I guess it's just different temperatures, and then different time frames. So like the softer the cheese is, the shorter amount of time in these rooms. Totally like room and room and room down the hallway. There are tons and tons of cheese. And then, as I mentioned, there's like certain parts where people were doing things by hand. There was a woman who actually took each one and took sorry, not sand, that would be disgusting. They took salt and then salted these cheese wheels, because by this time it's like this level. Salted these cheese wheels, and then they aged even further, and then mold starts to form on it. And I know you guys are probably like, ew, that's disgusting, mold. But if you understand what cheese really is, yes, there's mold. There was a guy who was literally taking each one and scrubbing the mold off. So it's like some of them they've been salted, and then they've been aged for like, I don't know, days, months, and then once the mold builds up, and it's like hairy mold, guys. It's like blue and green and fuzzy. This guy literally takes each one and scrubs it down, scrubs all the mold off. Then they take it to another place, and then they put different coatings on, and then this woman we saw actually like hand puts on the labels, and then they put them in the packaging, and they do all that stuff. So why am I telling you all this? One is, it was a phenomenal experience, one in which is not open to the public. This isn't like one of those places like Hershey Park where it's all for show, and you're like, oh, so that's how chocolate is made. This is literally this cheese, this family's cheese being made, okay? The other thing is, remember I mentioned that we had like this unprecedented access to the Michelangelo family. It was pretty awesome meeting Michelangelo himself. And he was explaining to us that they import cheeses from Italy, just like these type of cheeses. Not from this particular family. They were actually checking out this factory at the time. But from other Formaggi family cheeseries. I use that term again. And they import it in from Italy, and then they put it in the frozen food meals. Now, the thing that I think is really cool though, is they don't import it shredded. They import the actual wheel. They shred it at their manufacturing facility in Texas right before they put it in the meal. So it's like crazy, crazy fresh imported cheese. I thought that was pretty cool. Here's the best part. The best part is, after we saw this entire process, they're like, do you want to go for lunch? We're like, of course we want to go to lunch. We go to this lunch place. They break out, open the wine, of course, awesome. And then one of the guys there was literally giving us we were cheese testing. He literally cut the cheese I thought that was pretty funny. And then he served us ravioli, cheese ravioli. And I cannot express to you, you have not tasted life until you have had fresh ricotta cheese in fresh cheese ravioli from a place you just toured the facility and remarked about how super high tech, how the smells were so awesome, how clean the facilities were. It was amazing. It was great cheese ravioli. Then they grated more cheese on top, and remember, I like quadrupled up on the lactate for this meal. And then on top of that, they started bringing out all of these different cheeses, and we were trying those. One in particular had pistachio in there. It was phenomenal. I was like, okay, nut, cheese, all right. I mean, I've had nuts and cheese before, but pistachio, okay. I knew it was gorgeous looking. It was really, really tasty. Finally, after this, and maybe this wasn't necessarily the right order in which cheese was made, they were like, do you want to see the farm? We're like, the farm? Right? There's actual sheep that they have in their herd. I think they said 1,000 sheep that make the milk that go into the cheese. And so we drove over to the farm, and it was pretty awesome. You know, I mean, sheep are sheep, but to just see and imagine, wow, these are the sheep that made the milk that went into the cheese that we saw the process, that went into the amazing ravioli that I just ate. That is my story of the time I went to the Formaggi della Famiglia Busti. It was pretty amazing on this trip to Italy with the Michelangelo's family. Now, why do I do this? Well, I'm doing this to tell you, first off, what an awesome time I had, but second, to let you know that they are running this contest again, and you could win a trip to Italy. It's pretty easy. Follow this link below. Check it out. I also am posting tons of pictures from my trip, specifically from the day we went to the cheese factory, on my Facebook page, facebook.freezerburns.com. Thanks for watching. As always, I'm your host, Greg, the Frozen Food Master. I'll see you next time.